What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Into the Overhead. I'm your host, Josh, and we've got, which way is, if I point, which way does it get to Dean? I think it's
on
that
the
way.
screen. I am to your left on the screen.
Well,
Dean Olmschneider, and we've got a special guest with us tonight. Will, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, my name is Will Hinton. I am co-owner and captain of Nautical Divers and the research vessel Explorer.
how can you be the co-owner and the captain? I feel like if you're the captain, you have to be the main owner. Isn't that how that works?
So I'm co-owner right now with Aaron Dickerson. So he and I both, we went in on this, decided to take about this excursion and get a charter boat back up in Jacksonville, Florida. Right now I'm captaining the vessel. Aaron's got plenty of years experience, active Navy, actually retired Navy, but he somehow that doesn't transfer. Being in the Navy,
Tell me about it.
And all the time at sea, but you still need to go to Coast Guard to get your OUPV six-pack, which is interesting.
Yeah.
But
Well, how long have you had the boat? Or can I call it a boat? Is that a thing?
She's a vessel. She's a vessel.
Okay. How long have you had the vessel?
So we brought her down from Cape May, New Jersey, just a little over a year ago. So she's still kind of new to us, but she's an older vessel, kind of custom build. But we just started getting things up and operational at the beginning of the year, this year. Actually.
When you say custom build, you mean you had it built or someone else had it built?
No, so it's actually an Evans hull, but it was redesigned and kind of fabricated. The back deck is actually all custom aluminum by the previous owner, Rustin Casway. So he did all that himself, all that custom work on the back deck.
Sounds familiar. Tell me about this guy.
So Rustin Casway, this guy is kind of a legend if you're into like exploration, wreck diving, or just kind of identification of lost vessels in time. This guy is he's definitely making his mark and just having fun with it. One of the biggest things, if you're familiar with any type of identification of World War II vessels, the DS Octavian, I believe was the name of it. One of the more recent ones that they discovered, they found the plate on the boat's boiler, and it was a Norwegian vessel. And they found that plate, identified it, and they actually got to fly to Norway to kind of show those families, hey, this is what happened to like your granddads, like this, because no one knew. It's an incredible story. They actually have a pink book that we have on board the vessel that you can kind of read and flip through some history on it. But it's incredible. That Rustin Casway is just a legend in our eyes.
So let me ask you a question, Will, because I'm sure everybody else that's watching and listening here, we've heard of boats, we've heard of ships, we've heard of vessels. What's the difference between a boat and a ship and a vessel?
I think when you get past 20 foot in length, I think she can be referred to as a vessel. Honestly, there's no real. I generally think that vessels are kind of sea-bearing. And boats more so, or inland, more just stick to the intercoastal. But if you're going offshore Jacksonville, you definitely need a vessel, something that can take the beating of that Atlantic Ocean.
Gotcha.
So speaking of, go ahead, Dean.
How big is your vessel? That sounds dirty.
So she is
6 inches, baby.
She's 42 feet long. Actually, she's 42 foot long and 12.6 wide. She's big.
I'll bet your significant other's quite happy with that, huh?
Quite.
We're family friendly people. Sorry about that.
Hey, it's just a question and a comment. So do you do just strictly research, or do you take out divers, or do you do fishing charters, or?
So originally, Aaron and I, we really wanted to get into kind of just more personal recreational diving, but it was a massive process. There hasn't been a true charter off the coast of Jacksonville, Florida in years, since Steve Parks was around. I mean, there's been a couple guys here and there. I think the most recent one was, actually I've lost the name of it, but really there's no more charters left for recreational diving. There were some spearfishing charters that were actually in the back of my head, but just if you wanted to go out and enjoy a wreck or a reef, that hasn't been a thing in like 7 years or so. So we took the better part of last year after we brought the vessel down from Jersey. in preparation to get the certifications, to get the vessel license, the COD, get things up and running with the Coast Guard, get everything up to par in the state of Florida and in the city of Jacksonville. And really, February, we made the announcement, hey, we have a recreational vessel now. If you're advanced open water, working on your advanced open water and nitrox and beyond, please come aboard and let's see what Jacksonville has to offer. But that kind of funds our fun. So running the recreational side of it, letting divers come aboard and getting out there and just diving in the ocean instead of driving like 4 hours south to Pompano or Jupiter. Now you can just go offshore here in Jacksonville because there's a huge diving community in Jacksonville. Pop offshore here and go sleep in your own bed.
How far out are you having to go in Jacksonville to do, I guess, what is it, wrecks? Is it reefs? I don't really know what's off the Jacksonville coast.
So it's funny. The previous owner, he's currently still the owner, but Robert Bunkley of Atlantic Pro Divers, he actually passed on some numbers from us from his Garmin, and I plugged it in to ours on board the Explorer, and it lit up like a Christmas tree. There's got to be 200 plus wrecks and reefs off the coast of Jacksonville, just massive, and they range from 5 miles to 40 miles, 45 miles offshore. And right now, we're kind of in the peak season for the inshore sites, which like Gulf America, which is one of the true wrecks offshore Jacksonville that was sunk by a German sub in 1942. She took 6 days to sink, actually.
Wow.
And she took two torpedoes to bring her down. Those naval officers, they fought for 6 days to keep it afloat. And so it's actually spread out so massive. You can do a 3-tank dive, which is what we do, a 3-tank dive, and still not see all of that expanse in that wreck itself.
So 2 torpedoes direct hit, and it still took 6 days for her to sink.
Absolutely.
That's pretty incredible.
Incredible story.
And just to clarify for anybody that's listening that doesn't know, when Will says he got numbers from someone else, he's talking about GPS coordinates for dive sites. So that's what all boat captains or vessel captains or ship captains work on. You probably don't see many ships going out to dive sites, but that's what they use to get to the dive sites to locate them. So
So I'm not super familiar with, I don't do a lot of ocean diving, especially on charters. How far do you have to go to get to the ocean? Because the intracoastal runs basically all the way down the state, doesn't it? So I don't know how often there are inlets. So how far is that for you?
So we're actually positioned, we're kind of held up at Palm Cove Marina. So if you're in local in Jacksonville, you probably know where that is. It's right across over the bridge, or before you get to kind of across the ditch, I guess is what we call it, which is the intercoastal. So right before you go over the ditch to get to the beaches, Jack's Beaches, Palm Cove Marina is just about 45 minutes. Depends on I guess how fast you drive, but 45 minutes to the jetties. A nice, good, smooth ride out there. And then really to the first dive site, which, like I said earlier, it's the more closer wrecks. Those are the kind of 5 to 10 mile range. Those actually only take about 30, 45 minutes to get to. So you're looking at from stepping on the boat to first actual dive, kind of, feet in water, is roughly hour and a half, hour 45.
That's not too bad. That's not too bad. So as Josh just said, he doesn't dive in the ocean too much, but I dive out in the Gulf quite a bit. And an hour and a half to actually be splashing is not really bad whatsoever. Totally acceptable. Obviously, you got to be careful on how and when you dress on the boat, because in Florida sun, you put a wetsuit on too early and you're talking heat stroke pretty quick. So,
yeah,
Josh,
absolutely.
I'm sure you and I can beat Will up later on, and we'll add it in the comments later. But Will, please consider any of our listeners, if there's any kind of coupons or discounts or whatever, we can, help bring you guys some business. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so checking us out on nauticaldivers.com. I mean, right now, the best deal that we have is the Platinum Charter Pass. So pretty much you pay for 5 and you get 6 trips aboard the vessel. So
wow.
kind of buy 5, get 1 free. Just because diesel right now is astronomical.
Yeah.
It's about $6.80 at the marina right now, a gallon, which she holds 400 gallons aboard the Explorer, and you can imagine that's a hefty bill to pay to fill that thing.
And Will, what is your normal charter fee?
It right now. Well, it might hurt a little bit. It hurts me to say it, but it's $250 right now. $250 right now for a 3-tank dive. Now that includes
the 3 tanks. That's not bad.
Obviously, weights, 3-tank dive, and we actually we supply the 3 aluminum 80s with nitrox in them to kind of ease and buffer the pain of that price. Because I mean, fuel is what it is right now. And so we originally started at $150, believe it or not, and we've had to progress and increase as fuel has increased.
Yeah,
and
I think most of the Southeast charters started, and for 3 tanks, $150 is actually a really good price. When I go out in the Gulf, it's usually been $175, and even there at $250, right around. So yeah, it really depends on where you're going, but fuel prices have definitely, put a burden on you guys, which then you can't eat that cost, so you've got to offset it to us. So
yeah, and don't feel, you should never feel ashamed or whatever the pricing. I mean, you got to do what you got to do. To keep people in the water. It's either that or people don't get to dive. So totally get it, man. Yeah. Speaking of, do you happen to know how many divers you think you take out a month? You guys pretty busy, or is it? I know we're in summer now, so
it has been nonstop. I mean, we've had wait lists of people. So right now, I can only operate as a 6-pack. That's all my license can carry.
I don't know. I don't know what 6-pack means.
So that's 6-packs means he can take 6 passengers.
Oh,
yes, it's your intro captain's license.
Okay,
it's the very beginning captain's license for a commercial vessel. I can take 6 paying customers with an allotment of crew, kind of dependent upon if whether or not it would affect the stability of the vessel is your crew number.
What does it go up to? 18, 24?
So
depends on the size of the vessel.
Depends on the size. Okay. Depends on the size. Now, I know when it was in Jersey, that vessel was consistently running, people in the teens on board. But right now, we're legally, I've got just 6 that come aboard. And if Aaron's not on board, also helping out run lines, dive master, and tying off the wrecks, I'll have a couple other crew members join me. 2 of the primary crew that we have right now, other than Aaron, is Josh Beard and Andrew Chubb, which they're also active. They're active Navy right now, and so they've been kind of helping us out from the get-go, helping Aaron and I get things rocking and rolling.
Speaking of diving, I know in my heart of hearts that as a dive boat captain, you have some stories, and I want to hear them, the funny and the gross.
Wait, first I've got to interrupt. First of all, Josh, I don't believe you have a heart.
Yeah.
Now you can go ahead, Will.
I brought it with me. It's in a jar. Calm down. Here, I'm drinking it.
Nice. So I don't even know where to begin. I guess.
So what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen a passenger come on board and do or bring or?
Don't say me.
So I've tried to get Josh on board. Now Josh has came on board, but it's when we were at port.
Yep.
And we actually haven't gone underway yet with
That's
Josh.
correct.
Which we'll maybe talk about later.
I'll come on if anchors are down. Otherwise, I'm out.
Yeah.
Come on, Josh. I'll go with you.
I'm scared. I'm not doing it.
There we go.
I'm not really scared.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
Okay. Hey, well, what's the fee to charter the whole boat? So it's $250 times 6?
Still the same. Well, unless this goes back to what we were offering coupon-wise earlier on. There's a Platinum Pass, which is individualistic. It is assigned to you. All right, so it has a specific voucher number that's just identifiable by your name. We kind of have like a manifest or a master sheet that keeps track of all right, this person bought a Platinum Pass. They can't just use that Platinum Pass for their best friend.
Yep,
you know what I'm saying? Now, if you're a dive shop or you have an LLC or you're, just an instructor that teaches frequently, you can buy one of our dive charter passes, which we actually have the best of both worlds right here. So we have the Platinum Charter Pass,
fancy.
Which is quite fancy. And we also have the Dive Shop Charter Pass. Now, This one versus the other. This one is what I was kind of alluding to in regards to if you're an instructor, you got an LLC, you run a dive shop, and it's the same concept as the Platinum Pass. So you pay for 5, you get the 6th spot free. Now, if you get in touch with Aaron or I and you plan on booking out the boat entirely, obviously buy one of these passes because we've only bought 100 of them, and so when they're out, they're out. We're not doing them again. But using that pass, right, you're essentially paying for 5 spots, getting 6 spots, right? And your instructor comes on for free.
So you essentially have
like
the boat
any regular
to yourself.
Exactly. You have the entire boat.
Okay.
So essentially you get 2 spots.
That poses a question for me as an instructor. I actually often take students out, and basically every charter boat I go on, if I bring even a single student, I go for free. So if I buy one of those cards, I'm paying for 5, getting 6 for free, but then do I still go for free also?
So that's where we run into some issues with the Coast Guard with our 6-pack. So because if you came on board with just one student, all right, so there's 5 other people in your student, all right, they're not yours, they're not your responsibility, they're not associated with you, you're not a professional in that capacity for those other 5 crew, or those other 5 customers. So you were essentially another passenger.
Total of 7.
Essentially another passenger, or and you would exceed my 6. Now, if you were at 6, let's say you had 6 customers from your dive shop, or you were teaching 6, or they're just from your friend group of 7, all right, and you're the 7th man, but you bought this pass, you're teaching a couple of them some specialties, right? So you booked that entire boat. You got all 6, they're booked. You've pretty much used an entire pass. You are instructing, and you headed the group of this charter. You would be included in my crew number, and therefore it wouldn't affect the customer capacity of the 6-pack.
And so essentially the answer is still yes, he would be free. It's just that the numbers dictate whether you can actually do it with all 6. Yeah.
Right.
Because
I'd have to be
now, the Coast Guards are very particular, and we're trying to keep it all legal and safe. Of course. And if you were to go that route and just have like one student frequently come aboard, now if you wanted to get your spot comped, we would need you to be a member of the Coast Guard like Maritime Drug Consortium, where it's like obviously you're signed up every year for a random drug test by the Coast Guard, right? Which is required by law to be a crew or to be a part of an active charter commercial vessel crew or captaining the vessel. Now, if you were on that specific maritime consortium, that drug testing consortium, we can easily add you to the crew insurance, and so it'd be a lot easier to make that happen instead of you booking an entire boat and coming.
So two quick things come to mind. First of all, Josh, you know me, big words, so we'll have to talk about that word consortium sometime later. But also, Will, I think it's awesome. It seems like you are being super flexible and really trying to help not really critique, but basically form your pricing and build packages to basically help out as much as you possibly can, which is amazing. Thank you very much. That's super cool in a world where the economy is falling apart and this is a dwindling sport or hobby, whatever you might want to call it. Trying to help out. Awesome. Very cool.
For sure. Now, I want to hear stories. Okay. Dean interrupted my story. I want stories. We'll start with his question. What's the weirdest thing someone has either brought or done on a boat? Your boat.
So,
anyway.
Brought, I don't have one for brought on board, but I was approached with a question one morning of a charter, and this gentleman came up to me and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know I'm allergic to seafood." I said, "Okay, I don't plan on fishing on board today, and we don't supply and he said, "Well, I know you guys supply food. Now, we supply pizza because there is a pizza oven on board. So after your second dive,
ding ding,
yeah, so." Yeah, and it's DiGiorno's, all right? So it's not just any pizza.
Not delivery. It's DiGiorno. Got it.
DiGiorno Supreme is my favorite frozen pizza.
That's what we got on board always. There's always at least one DiGiorno.
Book me one trip a month for the next 12 months.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we try and say, and it's on our website too, we supply, waters, ginger ale, sometimes Gatorades, and pizza, all right, a variety of pizza, and obviously crackers. All right, so we supply food, weights, tanks. All right, that's what we supply. I never once have mentioned to anyone that we supply any form of seafood. But this gentleman was like, well, I know you guys supply food. And if you guys are cutting up some seafood today, please don't serve me any. I was like, well, we're not spearfishing. We don't have a fillet of salmon on board. Like, I don't know where you're getting that from.
Listen,
but he was adamant.
There are a lot of boats that will allow lionfish hunting, and lionfish can be immediately cut as soon as it's on the boat and make ceviche in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I guess it's if he's allergic to it, if he's highly allergic, it's a valid concern. So
now I'm glad you brought that up, because we actually do. If you want to bring a pole spear in a dungeon, slaughter as many lionfish as you want. Please slaughter them. And our crew actually can fillet them up for you on the way back. Now, I didn't take that into consideration when he said, please don't, serve any seafood on the charter. But I was like, that was never on the menu. But that was an interesting one to start out with. And that was early on too.
Okay,
cool.
So back to diver stories, but this time,
yes.
What is the most forgotten item? Because you supply tanks. I would have loved if you had said people come to the boat all the time without tanks. Like but you know what? You give them so they can't forget them.
Excuse me. Did you see my Josh anywhere?
I've actually had a customer come on board, and I'm asking obviously quick intros, and we're asking everyone to please go ahead and set up on your tank. Go ahead and set up your BCD regulator. Make your life easier before we even leave the dock. Go ahead and get comfortable. One of the customers I noticed was just looking around, and I noticed he wasn't pulling anything out of his bag. And he asked one of the guys next to him, he was like, where do we get the BCDs? And
the dive shop.
And I heard that, and I was like, there's no way. There's no way. And the customer was like, yeah, you're supposed to bring those. Like the boat doesn't supply those.
No, the boat does not. And
he's looking around, just wide-eyed, looking. Granted, it's 6:15 in the morning.
Jesus Christ.
All right, it's go time. All right, and
it's about time to shove off.
And he's right, and he sees me. And he's like, do you know where I can get a BCD? I was like, you don't have a BCD? Wow. And he said, no, I thought that was included in the charter. And just, mind blown. That was the one day I didn't bring my personal BCD, but it was a lesson learned for me. I actually went up to the marina and got one of the wet storage guys, one of the best guys in Jacksonville to know, Rob Hoagland, and I begged him, pleaded, please, can I borrow your BCD for the day? Like, I got a customer, I don't want him to boot him off. Like, he's really excited to come out, and he just bought a brand new Eagle Scout, and he's like, if it was anyone but you, I would say no. So I was like, look, all right, I'll charge him like a $20 rental day for the rental fee, and I'll have him sign a piece of paper saying if anything happens, he's liable. Perfect. All right, good day. I grab it, go back to the boat, give it to him. He's so excited, agrees to the $20 rental fee for the day. I'm writing up the statement saying that if he breaks it, tears it, rips it, he's responsible. While I'm writing it up, he's put the BCD on the tank. He looks at that same guy, and I watch him because I'm curious of this guy at this point, and he holds up the inflator, and he's like holding it, moving it around, and he said, so where's the regulator on this BCD? And that same guy was like, the regulator is a separate piece of equipment, sir. This is a separate piece of equipment. He's like, oh, it's not. This isn't it. This isn't it right here.
Did he bring anything?
I hear this. No. He brought his mask, his fins and booties, and then he brought his own personal cooler of
well, there you go. He brought his cooler. But, that's all you need.
Yeah. But and as soon as I heard him say like, "Where's the regulator on this BCD?" I was like, "Okay, we
gotta go, buddy.
This can't happen."
My next question.
We need to reactivate.
My next question would have been, I'm sorry, who was your open water instructor?
For real, who told you the boat was going to give you this stuff?
Yeah.
So while we're on the topic of boats, which why did I say that? The whole episode's about boats. I'm curious because I have been on a boat a couple times and I get a little bit seasick when I don't take medicine. So have you ever been thrown up on? And I'm sure that people have thrown up on the boat, but I want to know about you or crew. Have you guys been vomited on?
So I have had a crew member get thrown up on. Now, if you are not, you don't have sea legs, you're not used to being offshore in rocky seas, please take some Dramamine the night before. There's no shame in taking some motion sickness the night before or the morning of. Please. And that's also why we supply ginger ale, right? I preface that to say we had a great charter of just a phenomenal group of divers, but it was a little rocky offshore. It was a little rocky. One of my crew members, Andrew Chubb, he was, helping out the customers down below, handing out snacks, handing out crackers, drinks, passing out waters. We had a couple people up top on the sun deck hanging out because they were feeling seasick. Now, I made it abundantly clear, don't go up top if you're seasick, all right? You're going to sway in more and more up top. It's not a good spot if you're seasick. And the guy goes up there. All of a sudden, Drew's kind of hanging on the side of the boat just next to the gunnel. And the way he tells it is he all of a sudden feels like a mass, like someone just dumped a bucket of water on his head. And he looks up and then he looks at his hands and it's a little chunky water. And he was like, so it's like, please tell me this is like, I'd rather have it be bird poop. And he looks up and it's one of the customers just spewing over and just like holding his mouth and huge eyed looking at him. And Drew's like, please tell me you did not just throw up on me. And of course he did.
Oh man.
And that almost caused the chain reaction of throwing up on the boat.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone was just all over the sides. Drew jumps off. He strips out of his, shorty wetsuit, and he's just shaking in the water like, oh my God.
That's so gross.
So for everybody listening, let me just clarify a couple things. Will mentioned something about Dramamine. So no matter what the forecast is, it doesn't make a difference if it says the seas are going to be flat, because Neptune can change his mind in a heartbeat and just totally decimate the sea. Dramamine, ginger root, there are some prescription patches that you can wear behind your ear. All of those things take time. If you think you're going to take them when you get to the dock and have them be effective, you are unfortunately, sadly mistaken. Like Will said, take them the night before, start early, take another one the morning of, take another one when you get to the boat, whatever it may be. That's the best way to fight seasickness. And spending $250 on a boat ride, no matter how great the dives are, if you're chucking the entire time you're on the boat, you're probably not going to have the best of times. So be proactive. Yeah, be proactive. Start early. For the cost of a Dramamine pill, I think the net cost is like $1 if you buy the container. There's a certain number of pills in them. It's like $1 a pill. Yeah. You're paying $250 for a boat ride. To spend $2 or $3 on Dramamine, it's totally worth it. If you're not sure if you get seasick, so waste the $3 anyway.
Yeah, take the medicine.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Josh.
Yeah. So cool. So, well, let me ask you this: what is the coolest thing you've ever seen someone do, bring on the boat, or even better yet, not you, Josh, or better yet, come back onto the boat with?
Me.
All right. So now there's the coolest thing I've seen brought back on board was actually something that I helped kind of uncover. So what all credit does go to Robert Hoagland. So Rob Hoagland, the guy that I spoke of that kind of runs, he's the guy to know in Jacksonville. But we were diving a site, trying to, salvage a little bit, because there's two schools of thought, like salvage is bad, salvage is good. Well, what are your intentions when you salvage, bring stuff back up? If you're intentions are to restore it, preserve it, donate it to a museum, honor it. Like that's ideally what 98% of the guys that bring stuff back up from the ocean do. Then there's the others that try and sell it, make a profit off of it. So everyone that I've dove with, typically when they find something, it's to really honor it, clean it up, restore it, and save that piece of history. Because 50, 100 years, a lot of those wrecks and sites that are salvageable, that are pieces of history, they're just going to be rust stains on the bottom of the ocean. Now, I say that to preface that we went to a site about 45, 50 miles northeast of Jacksonville, and a site that Richie Kohler and Michael Barnett frequent, and actually I think identified. But Robert Hoagland and I, we were diving together in the intent and hope to find something to bring back on board memorable. And I hear Robert and I, we're literally scanning the debris field, scanning around. Also, I hear him yelling. He's waving at me, signaling to me, come over. And we dust off what was essentially a latch. It was an exposed latch. And upon excavation, brushing the sand away with just flailing with our hands, it was an intact porthole. Beautiful, beautiful piece with the glass still intact inside that porthole. And the latches were still there. Just ungodly. Luckily, I brought a lift bag with us, and we strapped it around and filled it up and carried it together. But that had to be one of the coolest things that we brought back on board, and it actually had etched across the. Oh well, I should just say the name of it, which I wasn't supposed to.
But I'm going to assume that you
had the name etched across.
I'm going to assume you agree with the take nothing but pictures, leave nothing but bubbles for recreational trips, but you're probably referring to some type of recovery or research trip that you took, yeah?
Yeah. Right, like a research identification, trying to bring stuff back from, there are the true wrecks and there's the artificial wrecks. There's the wrecks that have been placed there for artificial reef growth, to reestablish kind of the marine life, the ecosystem in that general vicinity, bring the fisheries back, right? Kind of reestablish some coral and structure back into the vicinity. And there's the true wrecks that have been sown throughout history. And if you don't bring back, if you don't honor, respect those wrecks, and it's honestly guys like Michael Barnett, Richie Kohler, Rustin Casway, like Ken Charlesworth is another great guy that does very similar work. Those guys that go and their intent is to bring a piece of history back to land so you can see it, clean it, preserve it, put a plaque on it. This was a piece of this wreck. Let's not forget it. Let's honor it. And sadly, and maybe at the end of our lifetime, or our sons, and they'll be able to see it too. Those wrecks offshore. Daughters, they'll be able to see those, but those aren't going to be there forever. They're going to be a rust stain, and I don't want them to be forgotten.
And the bad part is that all modern day ships, vessels, and boats all have such great electronics that you're not going to have a bunch of actual wrecks continue to be created. We're talking 1800s, 1700s, early 1900s. Those are the wrecks that we're diving now, because they didn't have the electronics. They were using the lighthouses. They were using the spotters up in the crow's nest. That stuff's not existent anymore. So the wrecks that are here now, they're going to just dwindle away, and more wrecks are going to be far and few between.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've already seen some of that decomposition. Like in the short time I've been diving offshore Jacksonville for 3.5 years now, with Rob Hoagland, and now obviously with the Explorer and Nautical Divers with Aaron and I. But we've already seen so much degradation and breakdown on some of these wrecks. It's just it hurts to see some of those cave in, and some of the wrecks that were once had massive structure and life, and they're just going down to graveyards.
I'm sure we've all heard of the Andrea Doria. The Andrea Doria's been around for quite a while, but she's starting to fall apart, and the levels are just collapsing. And she even when she was in great shape, just because of the conditions that are normal around her, she would take one or two unfortunate, divers a year. Now it's just getting worse and worse because she's starting to collapse. So it's just a thing of nature, the salt and the corrosion, and just something we can prevent.
So I have a question and I have a statement, okay? And the statement is, happy birthday, because I just saw that it's your birthday.
Oh, thanks.
Oh, it's your birthday?
Thank you very much.
It is.
Yeah.
Happy birthday, sir.
It is, actually, yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good deals.
First of all, that was weird.
You're weird.
Shut up. All right, my question is, I heard you say Mike Barnett a couple of times. I think that's a pretty recognizable name. I want to say I've seen some of his videos on YouTube. I don't know the other two people, but from what I've seen, seems like he's doing a lot of research stuff. So have you done any research charters with Mike or anybody big for that matter? I'd be interested to hear about that.
Yeah, so we had the honor to get the call from Michael Barnett, or Barney, as a lot of people call him. So to go down off the coast of Daytona and Ponce Inlet, they had some research that they wanted to dig into, and they were like, hey, so we've heard of the RV Explorer back when it was up in Jersey. We know the history of it. I think Barney and Rustin Castaway, they tried setting up a few trips every now and again, but they kept falling through. But Barney was aware of the vessel. Long story short, he knew what the vessel could handle. He knew the size of it. He knew the platform on the stern, it's a lift, so you don't have to climb up a Christmas tree ladder to get back on board. It's got a platform that drops over by some chains pretty much on a 750-pound lift on the top of a door frame. And the frame itself, right, it lowers down into the water. And so you just hold on to those handlebars, left and right hand, keep that reg in, and you just flip a switch and I'll lift you right out of the water. So they knew what that vessel could do. They knew the history of it. And Barney reached out with the documentary crew. They said, hey, we got some sites off the coast of Daytona. Would you be interested in bringing it down for some research and hopefully some identification of some of these vessels lost?
You said documentary crew. Are you allowed to say who was doing the documentary? Was it just a personal project for Mike, or was there some kind of organization?
This was Nat Geo History Channel.
Oh,
this
is Nat Geo History Channel.
Yeah.
Nonchalant. Yeah. Little tiny organization.
Yeah. It was a pretty amazing opportunity. We weren't just the only vessel that was out there. We had a support vessel there with us with a couple actual support divers there. We had the primary dive crew on board the Explorer. We had Mike Barnett, we had Jimmy, and we had Eric Kovac, and I forgot Jimmy's last name. But there was the primary dive team, and we had the production crew on the vessel as well. And on the support vessel, we had the two support divers, obviously, in case of deco, changing out stage tanks, because these dives were not shallow. These dives were 400
Jesus.
feet. All right, there was some solid dives.
Serious planning for that.
That's not actually a deep dive either. That's beyond that.
Yeah.
That next level for sure. And good Lord, just being on that boat, listening to those guys plan, talk about their plan, what they're expecting to see, we think this is here, we're trying this out, and they've been burning and turning numbers to try and find some of these wrecks that have been lost in history for a good amount of time. And I'm really excited for the footage to come out. I'm excited to kind of share. Hopefully Barney and the crew will share some of that information that they discovered in the footage as well. But I mean, what a trip. What an actual trip. I mean, it was.
I wanted to share this photo. Can you guys see this? This is the lift he was talking about. This thing's pretty cool, man.
That is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Get an elevator out of the water. I like it.
Yeah, so that's right there. So while you've got it right there on that screen, if you actually look in the bottom right next to the E, just off the stern on the starboard side of that stern, you see that little panel right there, that control panel right there where you've got that mouse. That's actually if just for whatever reason you got to the stern and I wasn't there or one of the crew, it's an up and down switch. So you can actually flip that switch and the platform will come down to you or whatever level you hold the switch to. And you can kind of lift yourself back out. So that's just a redundant switch just off the stern. And then I believe in that high-vis shirt, that's one of the crew members, I believe Drew. flipping that switch right next to the frame itself, lifting.
I do not know if Dean and I are mature enough to have access to the controls for this thing. I got to be honest with you. Yeah, for sure. Or he'll be holding the down button when I'm trying to hold the up button because he's just like that.
It would be like the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote hitting the buttons at the same time.
Oh, man. So,
I have to assign.
How deep under the water does that platform go, Will?
6 feet without the stoppers. If it had those rubber stoppers on it, it could go 12 feet. So it goes.
So it can go fully submerged. So a diver can go onto that platform completely underwater. Submerged. That's pretty cool.
Get brought up. Wow.
And the intent was to bring up a goodie bag with you. So that's why there's a 750-pound lift on it, because those guys up in Jersey, they didn't just dive to identify. They go
recover,
to salvage, restore, recover.
Wow. So regarding the Daytona Beach trip, did you guys take the boat via the intra-coastal from Jacksonville all the way down to Daytona? Because that boat doesn't look like something that you can just throw on the back of your F-150. So how long of a drive was it?
No.
Is it drive? Is drive the right word? I don't know.
It was, it's fine. It was
how long of a boat ride?
It was a trek. Yeah. The boat ride down the intercoastal took roughly 4 hours, maybe some change, because we ran into
to get to Daytona
under some of the bridges.
Bad. Right?
Yeah, I mean, it could have been better. I mean, it's an hour and some change drive, but the boat ride, just because you have to check in with, I think, 3 different bridges going south on the ICW. You have to get
clearance
to go, to raise the drawbridge. Like the Bridge Alliance gave us a nightmare. I mean, no, not trying to throw some shade on Bridge Alliance in St. Augustine, but
there it is.
And I'm sure the boat doesn't run 80 miles an hour either.
ICW,
yeah, well, there's a lot of no wake zones in near the Pond St. Land as well.
Because
that's the one I go out when I jet ski in the ocean. So there's a ton of them out there. So,
honestly,
4 hours,
4 hours
not bad at all.
Yeah, and there was multiple bridges we had to get. We had to call in, say like, all right, when you guys bringing it up, raising that bridge, because we've got antennas that are just really way too long, but they're kind of stationary, and we don't like to disassemble that entire antenna, that kind of housing and mounting kit, to bring them down. So it took longer than expected, but getting down there was fine. And we spent a week and a half because we ran into that tropical storm that came through, and we actually got postponed from our dives, and the support boat and crew actually caught COVID. So we were down. We were taking COVID tests every day. Like we were on like a strict schedule after that, because I think the first day we all got out together. And literally the next day, the captain on the other boat came down with COVID, and so did the 2 support divers. So we tried calling in for backups, getting another captain involved, getting another support crew, which was Ken Charlesworth and I think one other man to come down and get involved. But it didn't work out with the other support boat, and we ended up just running the Explorer out for the remainder of the expedition.
So. I don't know, Dean, if you know this or any of the viewers, but
I know everything.
We did a dive talk episode on the RV Explorer. So, tell the story for people that don't know. I thought it was a very interesting day.
It was. I remember getting a message from Josh like, hey, I got some buddies that are doing a kind of startup, like a YouTube channel, kind of a podcast type deal where they kind of do reviews and kind of a Kickstarter. It's called Dive Talk, but what would it take to get out on your boat and do some videos? And obviously I probed him, like, what kind of video? Like, do we need to be underway? Do we need
adult videos
down here?
You need full makeup with body doubles and everything.
Who knew? I didn't know, but when it came to Josh, I had no idea what I was signing up for. But it was about stereotypes in scuba diving. So scuba diving stereotypes, and that was an interesting afternoon aboard that vessel, because they were not scared to do anything. They were jumping in the marina, which that water
Woody.
did not jump in.
That was Woody.
And
the water was gross.
Woody got in there, and it's just muck. I mean, it's just disgusting water in the marina. And they hopped in. Woody hopped in without zero fear. And actually, talking about getting seasick, I think one of the stereotypes on board was Josh's role. It's like, I don't get seasick. I'm a patty.
yeah. He asked if I took a Dramamine, and I said, I'm a Patty AOW. I don't need Dramamine. You know. Of course, it was a joke. Patty, we love you.
It was a joke. Love Patty. Love Patty. Right? But then cut to Josh, spewing chunks off the gunnel on the starboard side. But that video was hilarious. It was a lot of fun to film with obviously Josh and Woody and Gus.
It's a good time,
but, it's still up
for sure. So
it was good.
It's on the internet. It's going to be there forever.
Of course.
That's true. That's true.
Whatever, man. You guys are just haters.
Listen, I've got to interrupt, and I've got to ask the most important question that we're going to ask you all night, Will.
Josh or Dean? It's Josh. Calm down, pal.
I'm representing right here.
So am I.
Josh is representing Cave Adventurers in Marianna, Florida. Will, you're not representing.
What the hell, Will?
What do you mean?
Do you guys remember the Sesame Street episodes when they would have 4 pictures? 3 of these things are kind of the same.
Oh man! Speaking of, Will, why nautical divers? Just tell me all the things.
Yeah, why should people go to you?
So, love that, because we spent the better part of a couple years, and I frequently taught for a local dive shop here in Jacksonville and got to see multiple different charters down south, got to pull from the do's and don'ts, what I've seen go good, what I've seen go bad. And Aaron Dickerson also has had the opportunities to go aboard multiple different charter boats, and we kind of pulled all that knowledge together, and we found a vessel that we thought would be the most safe and functional boat in the area that we live. Jacksonville, Florida is not. It can be unforgiving at times. The weather can turn like that. I mean, it's pretty. You can be out at sea 15 miles at 2-foot seas at 8-second intervals. Then divers go down. You're at anchor. All of a sudden, it turns to 6-footers and 4-second intervals. Yeah. It's quick and it's unforgiving. But safety is the number one priority. We always have a debrief after every dive. The crew, Aaron and I, we debrief. We talk about what went good, what could have gone better, what potentially went wrong, or what went wrong. So we always debrief after every charter. We supply all of the gear to make it easier for you. We supply the nitrox. We check it ourselves. We make sure that everyone's pretty much on the same dive profile because we get a universal percent of nitrox on each tank of aluminum 80. So we have a rule that if you hit deco, you're done.
Wow.
All right, we don't do deco diving. If you breathe that tank below 500 psi, you're done.
Because they're being reckless, essentially.
Yes. If you do an alternate air share, right? If you just want to breathe that tank till nothing's left, and you decide to alternate air share on a buddy's air source, I'm sorry, you're done.
Oh, that's safety. Right? That's good. I like that.
And the lift in itself is a huge saving grace, because how many times have you climbed up a Christmas tree ladder and you've lost the fin, or you smack that ladder in high seas and you hit yourself and one appendage or your head, or a reel came undone, your SMB came undone.
I don't ocean dive, so that's 0 for me.
Wow. Josh for 0 because he doesn't dive in the ocean, and me 0 because I'm quite a bit more experienced than what your normal passenger would probably be.
Fair enough. Yeah. But, typically on those charters and running advanced open water trips down south and Pompano and Jupiter, it's consistent. I see it. You can see it almost every other weekend. It was guaranteed. Somebody slipping and doing this was insane, slipping off the bow of one of the boats on an AOW course and face planting and their mast exploding. Literally, that tempered glass just explodes. And she pops up, and I'm like, please don't open your eyes. Keep your eyes shut, all right, because I saw blood. Oh. And she was like, why? What's wrong? I was like, well, all right, just stay calm. Like, your mask shattered. You did a little bit of a face plant. But let me get the mask off of you. Please don't open your eyes until I remove the mask and I brush off some of the glass from your brow. And she was like, I'm perfectly fine. Like, I can see, like, my eyes aren't hurt.
It's not her blood.
Ocean blood.
And I took the mask off, and she opened her eyes, and she was like, just throw me another mask. Right. I was like, wow.
So let me jump in for 1 second here, Will, if you don't mind. For anybody listening, please, if you can sit there and try to justify or need to justify why you want to do something and your excuse is, oh, I should be fine. If the word should is in your statement, there's always the chance something can go wrong, and you don't want that thing to go wrong. If the word should is in your statement, you should opt out of that dive. You should not get on the boat that day. You should play safe and conservative and put your health above everything else, because things can turn on a dime and in an instant and do a 180-degree turn in a fraction of a second.
Yeah. I just wanted to add on to that little part there, because you were talking about giving instructions to her. I just want to remind everybody that if you're on their vessel, the captain is in charge. You should do what the captain says, especially when it comes to safety things. So keep in mind, just because you're paying doesn't mean that you're in charge. The captain is, okay?
We obviously have everyone's safety as the number one priority aboard that vessel. And, let alone the list of stuff that we provide just to make it easier on yourselves, not only just between transit from your parking spot onto the boat, just shuttling tanks, gear, weights. We actually bring that gear on carts. We try and go get it from you, unless you're like, no, I'll carry my own bag. Like, we really try and offer the best service we possibly can. And we also, we noticed that to make divers more comfortable, we started just giving you for the charter, for the entirety of the day, you've got a Marine Rescue GPS assigned to you.
That's above and beyond.
No kidding.
Yeah, we have 8 Marine Rescue GPSs, so we have 2 spares, which I typically just give to Aaron and I will just, whoever's in the water is a safety diver or dive master, we'll allot them one of the Marine Rescue GPSs, and we have a manifest. On the manifest, which we always keep a daily log entry of, like what goes wrong, well, how's everybody doing, everyone's names, and beside their names is the serial number of the Marine Rescue GPS that we assigned to them before we even got out of the channel of the marina. You will have a Marine Rescue GPS assigned to you at your leisure. If you lose it, that's fine. I mean, hopefully you don't, but it's something we allot to you to make you feel safer. We teach you how to use it. We talk to you about it. I mean, it's the simplest type of beacon you can utilize. It's got 3 buttons on it, and you don't even need the ladder. You just need 2 of them. You open up the cap, right? So you open up the cap where it's got that kind of seal on it, and then inside that waterproof seal, there's another cap found inside it. You pop that out that holds coiled up the antenna. The antenna folds out, and you hit the button. You hit that
that's
button.
Pretty awesome. I got to tell you, I haven't seen a charter boat yet offer to every passenger a GPS locator. That's amazing.
Either, yeah. But I've also never been on a charter boat. So.
Well, I've been on quite a few charters, and I pride myself on. I like to. I don't want to say partner with, but I like to work with the best there is. And in my opinion, I have a charter or 2 that I use in the Gulf. I have a charter or 2 that I use on the ocean side of Florida. I have a single charter in the Northeast up in New York. And I don't go outside of those people, because the people I know that do really good work, they're freaking awesome at what they do. They take care of their customers. They take care of their passengers, and safety is of utmost importance. So, Will, if you could do me a favor, we're kind of approaching the 1 hour mark, and we try to keep things around an hour. So if you could share with our listeners and our viewers all of your contact information, how they can get a hold of you. I have not been on your boat, but I'm going to tell you right now, I will definitely come and check you guys out, because I'm convinced that you guys run a quality, top-notch operation. That's awesome.
Agreed.
Thank you. I really appreciate that, honestly. Now, check us out on nauticaldivers.com. So that website, we put a whole lot of work into it. Michael, the owner of Pro Sky Studios, he went above and beyond for that site, and I'm really proud of it. I'm excited to really bring something back to Jacksonville, something safe and fun. And Aaron and I have worked really hard to make this an option here in North Florida. But on the website, or you want to shoot us an email, which you can also find on the contact page, is nauticaldiversllc@gmail.com. Shoot us a message if you have an inquiry, anything like that. We both have the numbers, our cell numbers listed on the page itself, the contact form, if you just want to give us a call. But again, nauticaldivers.com is the way to go if you want to kind of find a book schedule, check out some photos of the boat, what we can do for you. And coming soon, we're going to have DPVs for rent on
nice.
Boat, hopefully in a couple weeks.
Oh. What TBVs are you going to stock?
Of course, the black tips. Yeah, of course. Everybody gets XKs from SOHEX. That's what they're going to do. That doesn't sound expensive at all. All right. So first of all, we'll super appreciate the time. We'll put in the description of the video the website link and whatever else, what other information you want to give. I do owe some shout outs here. I think Dene and I, well, I don't think I know. Dene and I talked about adding some shout outs for some people in some of our videos, just to show that we really appreciate you guys listening. And of course, the things that you guys have done both for us in a personal, professional level and the podcast. So mine are for my student Miles. He's 10-year-old, taking junior open water and absolutely crushing it. We had a little bit of a panic issue on Sunday during our first dive, and he shot to the surface on me. But after a 15, 20-minute break out of the water, the dude was perfect and it was like nothing ever happened. He crushed his second dive, and I'm super proud of the kid. So this Sunday, we're going to finish up his certification, hopefully. And also to our friend Lena, who you guys will be seeing on an episode here soon, here's a little foreshadowing. She is the only diver that I know of that has, it's not an allergic reaction. I don't want to piss off the medical people, that gets a rash whenever her body touches water. That is insane.
Salt water or fresh water?
Water. She can shower water. Showers at home, gets a rash. Scuba dives, gets a rash. Yes.
It sounds like we might need to try to find a way to get her a dry suit somehow.
Yes, that would be amazing. It'd be so amazing if we could figure out a way to get this girl a dry suit. So those are my shout outs. Super grateful for all of you guys' support. I'm going to turn it over to Dean for his safety speech and close out.
Cool. I just wanted to give a shout out since we're talking about charter boats. I did mention there are a couple of charter boats. If you're in the Northeast, the Gypsy Blood, Jim Wilson is the captain. Awesome boat, goes above and beyond. In the Gulf of Mexico, there's Dave Forrester. And one of my favorite captains of all time, no offense, Will,
Josh
is Captain Andy Ross on Niuhi, Niuhi dive charters out of Pensacola. You guys may have heard about the guy that was lost in the Gulf a couple of years ago for hours upon hours. From what I heard, 12 private charters and the Coast Guard tried to find this kid for hours. And Andy finished up his charter day, was listening to the radio all day, checked the winds, checked the charts for the day, and found this kid in like record time as soon as he was done. So
wow.
He does trips to the Oriskany, which is the world's largest artificial reef, I think at like 997 feet long. And he's the only captain I'll go to the Oriskany with just for that reason, because it's usually drift eco. And if you get lost, Andy's the one guy that I trust to find me. So way to go, Andy. You won me over several years ago. Keep doing an awesome job. That it?
Yeah.
Anything else you want to talk about, Josh?
Nothing for me. Close us out, Dean.
Sweet. Will, thank you again so much for coming on and chatting with us. It was great hearing from you. I will reach out to you personally and come and check out your boat and check out your charters. I know plenty of people in the Jacksonville area, so we'll see what we can do there. Other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed the episode. Don't forget, always dive as if.